It's time for the Yacht Club Show.
Needed now more than ever.
With Killer, Rev D, and Dr. Jim.
Well, welcome back to the Yacht Club Show.
Yeah, and who are you guys again?
It's been a while, hasn't it?
You guys look vaguely familiar.
Life got in the way.
Life got in the way.
I'm telling you, I have been receiving numerous comments demanding another episode.
Wow.
Well, it's understandable with all that's going on. in the
I
world
felt
right
that
now,
way,
and,
but
I'm not
I'm
getting demands, but people have inquired.
oh yeah,
But Dr. Jim's getting demands.
I'm
well, he
I'm
runs with a
actually
different crowd.
well, yeah, it's like I'm kind of tied into the
Community,
The movers
or
and the shakers.
the movers and the shakers.
Okay,
That's it.
all right, okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
The movers and the shakers were feeling a little antsy, not getting sufficient philosophical and
Well, they don't get the real deal.
moral
They don't,
advice.
Jim, they don't get the real
There's so much out
background.
there. How are you going to
things.
sort through it
Yeah.
if you don't have somebody
Right, like us.
who's expert in these
Yeah.
things?
Without us,
Yeah.
you're dependent on the biased media.
Right.
Exactly.
We're the guys that cut through that stuff.
That's
We're
right.
to
The lame stream media. Is that it?
mainstream media. Yeah. Hey, you guys, I walked in and no one said anything about my T-shirt.
Well, we didn't want to, Killer, we were going to say something about it. It's a little,
Well,
what would you call that, Jim? Eclectic?
It's
Different?
It's kind of it's the kind of thing that if you bring it up, you're not sure if you want the answer.
Well, and if you're wrong,
And you're wrong, or do you offend somebody?
yeah,
Why?
do you
What's the
wear-
matter with
yeah.
my
Well,
shirt?
Do you recognize the picture?
I would say it kind of looks like Prince to me.
I think it's Prince with that little mustache there, or that whatever.
I don't know,
what do you
but
think?
I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't. But that's kind of who he looks like to me.
A little bit of a story behind this. I was at a family wedding earlier in the summer, Carol's side of the family, and a bunch of us went out to dinner the night before the wedding, and the topic of music came up, and someone brought up Prince, and I made the comment, granted he's a great guitar player, but I'm just not a Prince fan. I don't care for his music. And I basically got booed away from the
Really?
table.
By the group? Or
By the
just-
whole group.
Really?
Turns out I'm a minority of one when it comes to Prince's music.
I
Prince.
never considered Prince a guitar player. I didn't know.
Oh,
he was,
wonderful!
really?
You didn't see the halftime show, Super Bowl halftime show where he performed?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not.
He was a terrific guitar player,
Really?
actually. Yeah.
No, I like some of his tunes.
I-
You don't.
I don't have
you
nothing.
know? Would you know
No
a Prince
opinion
tune?
one way or another.
Would
I
you
might-
know a Prince tune if you knew one?
I might if I heard if
What's the one?
I might have
Something
heard-
cries or.
When Doves Cry.
When Doves Cry. That's.
I might know it if I heard it.
That's a jam.
Is it?
That's a jam.
Dave came close with When Something Cries.
Yeah, Something Cries, and there were a couple other that.
I mean, Purple Rain is something.
Oh, there
yeah,
you
Purple
go.
Rain. There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Very,
Yeah,
very, very
those are the
impressive.
two I know.
Okay.
Yeah,
Very impressive.
That's our,
All right.
Prince,
Okay, so that's the extent of our Prince.
Right. I don't have anything negative to say about him. It never
well,
nothing. He's
I'll tell you, they're not. He's not Nestor.
He's not
well.
Nestor.
not Nestor,
I mean, you
so-
try.
He's not Matthias.
No.
You might try, or the vocalist on the album, or some of those
that's
vocalists.
Ben.
That
That's Ben
so
Cunningham,
I've never
backup
heard
vocals.
Backup vocals.
Did
like
you hear that?
Yeah, I never heard.
Yeah,
never
he's-
heard anything
He's not
like
Nestor,
that.
but
It's like the Pips.
anyway, I get this package then delivered to my front door, right? About a month later. What is this? And I open it up, and it's this Prince T-shirt. It was sent to me by Carol's brother Tom and his wife Gail.
Is now Tom's a Prince
Tom,
aficionado?
like I said, I was the only one
really?
that
So he's
didn't
big
like
on Prince.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I promised him I'd wear it to
Well,
the next podcast,
Tom, he
which
did.
was months ago, and
He
I did.
did.
So
He
you guys
did.
will vouch for me.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Dr. Jim's
Oh, wait a minute.
shirt here.
Is there any? I was just going to say. So we haven't yet said yes. That is Prince then on the shirt.
That is Prince.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so we got that right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and I like Jim's shirt. It looks like a pint of Guinness.
Right.
And it says, "Hello, darkness, my old friend," which, it's a Simon Garfunkel. That speaks to me. But darkness being the dark, stout
Boy,
beer,
they can't
that is
pull
Guinness.
anything over on you. You got that right away, didn't you?
So if we
Did
were
you catch the little insignia here?
yeah, it's a shamrock.
It is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I saw that in the window. I don't like getting caught up in all the.
You don't like the souvenirs.
I
and,
don't
you
like
get
to get
that
caught
stuff.
up. I
Where'd
saw that
you
shirt.
get that? In Ireland?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was in.
The mall in Novi.
The Irish shop.
The Irish shop in Livonia, yeah.
a little town called Sneem.
Sneem.
Yep.
That sounds
Irish.
Irish and rural.
It is both. And there were plenty of tourist shops there as well.
Sneem.
In Sneem. Sneem.
Sneem.
Okay. A lot of thatched roofs or anything like that?
I didn't see
like
too
you
many
see
thatch roofs,
Okay.
no. I think they've gotten away from them. They're not particularly...
in the last 100 years.
yes, they've sort of upgraded the building codes around.
They have running water there.
Yeah. Yep.
So how did you like Ireland?
Oh.
You've been there before, right?
I was there one time when my boys were younger. They were like Jeremy was probably around 9 and Ben was around 12, and we saw my first cousin, who is since deceased. He lived in Lyra Crompan.
What county?
Kerry.
County Kerry.
Yep.
Okay.
So we saw him, but he was the only one we saw at that time. And so this was the second time we went back. We saw a lot more people.
Relatives?
Relatives, yeah.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. So I was telling Dave, it was it kind of touched me because it was like all of a sudden I walked into the room and somebody pulls back the curtain and says, "Oh yeah, by the way, here's the rest of your family over here." I mean, that was just, I'm not saying physically that was the way, but mentally it was. It's sort of like you have your family here, right?
Yeah.
And this is where your family is.
Yeah.
And my family, and I have the same attitude. This is where my family is, my aunts and uncles and cousins, and they all live in the United States and so on. Then you go over there, and they pull back the curtain and say, okay, here's the rest of them. And they live in Ireland. And they're Irish, and they've been Irish forever. And they talk to you, and you share pictures, and we're looking at the same relatives in two different places. It was just stunning to me. Anyway, the trip was fabulous. I was glad I was able to go back there with my sons because they were too young to remember it, and then introduce my granddaughters to
That had to be a rush.
It was.
Yes.
Now my oldest granddaughter, who is 12, she plays tennis, and she's thinking about, if she ever gets to play tennis at the Olympics, she wants to play for Ireland. It's just cool that, she sort of sees this connection that.
Yeah.
So it was like
she really got bit by the bug there.
She got bitten by the bug. Yep. And
That's awesome.
And she wants to know how Irish she is. So she's significantly Irish.
Yeah. Your parents, did they come from Ireland?
My parents came from Ireland.
They did.
They came from Ireland, and everybody before them came from Ireland.
Yeah. Jim's a thoroughbred.
Yeah. Except for the Vikings and the Spanish.
Well, that's just that's an aside.
And maybe some Neanderthal, right?
Neanderthals.
That pops up sometimes in blood.
Europeans have this number of people who have Neanderthal blood in them.
Well, that's really cool.
It was just an amazing experience for me.
It's a cool thing. Hey, looking at Dr. Jim's shirt, I'm kind of parched. That picture of Guinness. Rev D, I hear you might have brought some beer.
Well, I do. I did some special shopping.
Special shopping for us. That's how special we are.
So, Killer, I got a couple for you, but I know you're just kind of a lager type person. So
I'm the light on calories kind of guy. Oh,
Lager of the Lakes.
Lager for the Lakes by Bell's.
Dr. Jim, I got a
Aqua.
Midwest IPA. I don't know if you've ever had Midwest.
What is it?
It's a Midwest IPA.
By New Holland.
know.
Yeah, so I'm not familiar with the Midwest.
Well, I
Have you heard of it?
No, I haven't.
No,
I
haven't
haven't heard that particular brand, but I kind of sounds redundant because I thought Michigan was in the Midwest. So if it was a
Michigan IPA, is that what you're saying?
no, I don't know. I don't know why.
I don't know what makes it. Well, what makes it a New England? The hazy is New England, right? So maybe there's
It's the
just
style,
something,
yes.
Maybe there's something different about it.
Yeah.
But I thought you might want to try that.
I certainly will. I'm always open.
Well, I'm
to
two
it.
sips in, and I think this is really good. Lager for the lake.
Myself, I'm going to have a Chardonnay.
Chardonnay.
What are you having?
A Chardonnay. A nice
Chardonnay.
Buttery Chardonnay.
A buttery Chardonnay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Rev D.
You're welcome.
All right, on to politics.
Because we were going to do AI. That was our.
That was
our
it.
planning,
What was
and
we were going
we
to?
did a lot of show prep for that
We
too.
did.
Unbelievably for this group.
We were going to because we felt somebody needed to kind of pull it all together and give people a kind of an understanding of.
And Dr. Jim was
What's
doing
going
extensive
on?
research. He was pulling it all together
Yeah.
for us.
Well, I came across articles and I forwarded them to you, and,
And we read them.
and you read
we
them.
did
So
read
that
them.
was it. So my job was to find them, send them to you, and your job was to read them.
But I think what's happened, who cares about AI at this
Right.
point?
Yeah,
It's
maybe
just-
maybe it'll become the hot topic again, but
yeah.
not right now.
Well, it might. Yeah, as soon as maybe we'll have to keep
Revisit.
put it on the back burner
Revisit.
because I'm sure it will be around for a while.
Yep, a few things have happened since that discussion. Anyway, I just find it kind of interesting how this presidential race is being positioned in the media, and it's almost laughable. So part of Yacht Club Show's service, we try to present the truth. So I thought I'd take a stab at this. We'll present the two candidates this way. Imagine you're at a boxing match. In this corner,
Oh,
we
okay.
have Kamala Harris. Kamala is the current VP. Her popularity has kind of taken people by surprise. Let me remind our listeners that in the 2020 primaries, presidential primaries, she topped out at about 5% as far as...
I didn't even think it was that high. I think it was like 3%.
Yeah, I mean, she was between 3 and 5%.
Yeah.
Biden, of course, Bloomberg, Buttigieg, Sanders, Warren all finished significantly higher to the point where she dropped out.
Very early, right? That was before the debates.
I think it was
or
before
before the primary.
before the Iowa primary.
August, okay.
Yeah, this is interesting. On November 29th of 2019, the New York Times published an article that talked about the rifts in the campaign. Remember, that was kind of an unstable
Yeah, I don't.
campaign. And then quote, competing factions eager to belittle one another, loyal to either campaign manager Juan Rodriguez or campaign chair Maya Harris. According to this article, other staffers told the Times that it was unclear who's in charge of the campaign. The article described the campaign's financial situation as dire, with the campaign unable to afford polling or television advertisements, and quoted staffers and supporters who described Harris as an indecisive candidate. So that's 2020. Not real popular among her base. As VP, as recently as March 6, 2024, she had a 35.9% approval rating. Not real good for a vice president. 52.7% disapproval rating. So, as far as her detractors go, she's known to lean progressive. She's been, as a VP, she's been soft on crime and non-existent on the border. But for her advocates, and this is really a strong thing, she's a champion for women's rights, and of course LGBTQ, is that right? As well. So
That's most of them. There's
There's probably a few more in there.
after
symbols
after,
and letters.
Yes, yeah. So and that's huge. So for a lot of certainly women and men. She offers a lot of hope. Okay.
Plus,
go ahead. Anything you want to add? Now, factual, right?
She's not Trump.
She's not Trump. There you go. Okay, not Trump. Anything else you want to add?
Yes. I think I'm going to just play a little bit of devil's advocate here. I think what the campaign today would say, all of what you just said is true, but that's the old Harris.
Right.
And she is much more mature and seasoned as a politician.
She's evolved.
She's evolved.
Yeah, she's evolved.
The only caveat I'd put on that is this reputation for being having poor relations with her staff, and a lot of turmoil within her segment of the administration seemed to carry forward as she was a VP.
Right.
So that would be the only thing I would that's kind of like, to me, a little bit of an update on it. Plus, I'm going to say this now, and it may come up later on. Way back when people were talking about who were going to be the contenders for the presidency, and they were, it was unclear that Joe was going to run, and Donald seemed to be building more and more momentum. And the phrase came out that the only Democrat that Trump could beat was Joe Biden, and the only Republican that Biden could beat was Donald Trump. So now we're kind of at that point where you've seen a Democrat step into the place of Biden, and to what you were saying, Dave, it doesn't matter who it is.
Right.
Just the Democrat, just the D label on it, puts that person in a position to win against Donald Trump, because that person is not Joe Biden.
That sums it up pretty well. And one more side note: Nat cackle is now joy, and it's a sign of endearment. So
that's this is a media issue. There isn't even. I read there was something in the Times that was saying they were criticizing. So Elon Musk interviewed Trump, and he was criticized for asking Trump softball questions. And I'm sitting here thinking, has anybody ever asked Harris any questions, softball or not?
Good point.
I mean, how can you criticize, one guy for taking questions, although they were easy, and the other one for just pretending nothing happening here?
Yeah, that's right.
Just keep driving.
That's right. All right. And in this corner, we have former President Trump, who was narcissistic, self-absorbed, ego-driven. Those probably all mean the same thing. Who seems to be more concerned about crowd sizes than anything else. Very unpresidential on social media and interviews. He's crude. And was not, I mentioned Harris's approval ratings. He was not really popular as a president when you look at the approval ratings.
Yep.
His approval rating between 2017 and 2021 was, on average, was 41%, and the high was 49%. So he was underwater his entire presidency. So it's important to bring that up. Now, for those advocates of Trump, he's tough on immigration, and that's a big thing for a lot of people.
Yep.
And the economy was rolling for a while, but you look at things like unemployment. Yeah, black unemployment dropped significantly under Trump, but it continued under Biden. But some people would argue that, he might be able to manage the economy better. Now, those that are against Trump, and there are many, I think women feel like he ultimately betrayed them on women's rights with his Supreme Court selections. There seemed to be this tone that, we'll never touch Roe versus Wade. That didn't end well for women. There's also some scary overtones of maybe even more drastic measures in birth control. He'll say, well, we're talking about making some
changes.
Yeah, some birth control
restrictions. And so on.
Yeah, adding more birth control restrictions. So I don't know if you want to add more to Trump, but
I think you summed it up pretty well. He's there's a lot of negatives
Yes.
for Trump,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
I do have to comment about, and this, of course, is the influence of the media and Trump, where it becomes, they highlight sort of secondary traits. I mean, all those traits you describe him as being narcissistic and self-absorbed and self-centered. So name the last president who wasn't.
Well, but he takes it to the next level.
Of course, as he would.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is these are traits that people who run for that office have.
Yeah.
It all depends on how well they
Sure.
hide. I'm not saying he takes it. I don't even would agree he doesn't take it to the next level. He's just so awful at concealing it.
Yeah,
Right. And
that's
you
true.
know, and I think if we looked at most leaders,
They possess those traits,
Yeah,
right?
they do.
They all think they're the
They're the
best.
savior.
and I think
They're
you
the
almost have
ones,
to be.
right?
Yeah, they have
right.
to.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree. Oh, and in all fairness to Vice President Harris, we talked about how her staff and stuff, there was all this dissension and chaos. Look at Trump's cabinet.
Yeah.
That'd be hypocritical from the Trump standpoint, poking fun at the way Harris's campaign ran itself. Just consider
But
the chaos.
That's the stupidity of what he would do. He would go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know what he's thinking.
He points one finger and there's two pointing back
Right,
at him
right,
usually. Yeah.
right.
Well, I think, we talked about this a little earlier before we started the broadcast. Some of this stuff is just to grab the media's attention. They say, what do they say? Bad reviews are better than no reviews at all, or bad
I think
news.
he believes that. I
Right.
really think Trump believes that.
Right, and
Yeah.
it does, and it revs up his base. Now,
Yeah.
he's got to keep the base revved up, because if he doesn't have them going, if they fade on him, he's got nothing. So some of this, I think, is deliberate, but some of it's counterproductive, because it's going to be, he's costing himself the independent voters. It's going to be
I
costing
don't know
himself.
what the number of independents are. You hear anywhere from 5 to 20%. I don't know what the number is, but he's not doing himself any
No.
favors
No.
with
I
those
think
people.
it is closer to 5. People who say they're independents are just pretending to be independents. They really have.
Right.
If you look at their voting record, it's probably going to turn out to be, 90% one party or the other.
I think this was Gallup. I found this online. When he was president, his approval rating among independents was way underwater.
Yeah.
I think maybe at one point it peaked at 42, but it's hovering usually around mid to upper 30s. So, you look at the numbers, I just don't see the votes there for the guy. I really don't.
Well, again,
I think you hear about a lot of Republicans that are swaying over to Harris. Harris is talking about no tax on tips. She's talking about getting tougher on the border. She's kind of saying things that, the independents want to hear. So I just don't see the votes for this guy.
Yeah, I think it comes down, can you trust her? Which kind of like we thought we were with Biden, we were getting a moderate,
yeah.
and we certainly didn't get that.
No.
And you look at with Harris and Walz, you look at their past. I don't think we're going to get a moderate. You got to look at that. You can say anything you want at that time to get elected, but what happens when you do get elected? And I think that's what we're looking at right now.
And I've been looking at Wall's record too, and there's nothing that he's done that really scares me. I mean, if anything, he might have been listening to the Yacht Club show and Dr. Jim's solution for education.
Education, yeah.
Meals. Offering meals to kids. It's like that's one way to get them to school, and one
Sure,
way to make sure
sure.
that they can stay alert. And tampons for young girls. I mean, some of this stuff is just basic kindness. I think he doesn't scare me as this out of control progressive.
Well,
He
he was supposedly a moderate when he was a legislator in Congress, so that's one thing. But I don't even know why people care, because the vice president, Trump, hit the nail on the head when he said vice president is nothing.
I think it doesn't matter in this case, because look at
You think
Trump's
Harris?
age.
Okay.
Well, no. Let's look at Trump and J.D. Vance.
Okay.
Look at Trump's
All right.
age. He could end up doing a Biden, and then you would hope that you have a strong vice president to kind of back
That's
him
right.
up. Let's look at Harris. She's considered a lightweight.
Right.
So you're looking for a strong vice president.
But the
to back
odds
her
of
up.
the odds of Trump needing a backup are a lot greater than Harris's. The vice president, Harris's vice president, can go nameless because he's never going to see the light of day. He's going to be doing a couple of PR events, but he's not going to have any influence on policy. The idea that she's going to call, or any president, again, is, I refer you back to all those traits that we said presidents have, leaders have in general, will prevent her from ever. So, Mr. VP, what do you...
I don't know, Jim. I hear what you're saying, but...
So let me explain. Tell me the last... the last vice president and the only vice president I remember having any say in the administration was with George W. Bush.
Okay.
Cheney was...
George.
Well, and I think Gore had some...
With Clinton?
With Clinton.
Well, I think they were, but they just got together and said to each other, I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you.
But consider...
No, it's just, I just don't see Gore as being, I don't see a Gore policy that would be different from a Clinton policy filtering
but
through.
Consider Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
I think she's a very good person. She's attractive. She has some charisma. I question her extemporaneous speaking ability, but she's a lightweight. And like you said, Jim, no one considered her as a possible candidate when they're still questioning whether Biden was going to last. She was off everyone's radar. She's a lightweight, and I hate to keep saying that. I think Walz will have more of an impact than maybe any VP. That's my opinion, personal opinion.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Jim. I don't see...
You don't see it?
I just don't see it. I think with Vance and Walz,
I think they're trying...
not an issue.
Democratic handlers are really smart. The way that they've turned things around for Harris, it's overnight. She's like the savior, and she's this wonderful.
Well, the press thinks that too. That she's this great.
Yeah, but I think her PR team has got to be top notch.
The Democrats are much better.
They are.
Than the Republicans at coming around their
and strategizing. I think.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if the press is doing everything you're saying.
The press helps.
Yes.
The press helps.
But they're not helping because they think she's, the female Abraham Lincoln. They're helping her because they're so anxious to get rid of Trump.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
That they will over promote her at the risk of all the other baggage she brings with her.
Sure.
Right.
Just to get rid of Trump.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when it comes to managing the PR campaign for Harris today, they seem to be
They're very good.
Incredible job.
doing a great job.
But,
they're going to hide her in the basement just as they did
exactly.
with...
And hiding her. And that's what, okay, are we ever, and we haven't even talked about policies. All right, here, what do you think the policies are going to be? We kind of know what Trump's are.
Yeah,
and Trump,
they're consistent.
Yeah, Trump is, I'm not, Trump is Trump. We know that, okay? And Harris is Harris, and she's being fluffed up right now.
Yeah.
Okay? And so, but we're not really getting at, we're not hearing, and Trump is as much to blame for this, talking about if she's black or not, or how, when she was...
Yeah, it's just crazy.
It's crazy.
It's craziness.
So when are we going to start talking about the policies of,
Right.
of
And
what's really going on?
Well, until she hasn't told us what her platform is, has she? She hasn't been interviewed to say what she's really supports,
now,
right?
Can she get away with that for the next?
I think so
85
because
days?
she's on the right side of women's rights, with abortion rights, with birth control, with LGBTQ. She's on the right side of that, and that's huge.
I'm going to get all right.
And
I'm going to give you that. I think that's run its course.
I don't think so.
Okay,
I
fair.
think that is on the
that's
forefront. I know it's still on the forefront of my daughter's minds.
All right, so I'll give you that. But other than that, what does she stand for?
We all want the same thing. We want people who need
we
help
want
to
kumbaya,
get help.
baby. What do we
We
want?
want people who need help to get help. We want people to get have access to decent health care, a decent education, and opportunity. An opportunity to be successful.
Yes.
We all want that.
Yes.
Now, it depends on how you're going to get there. The goal is the same. It's just a question of how you get there.
What's
Right.
that? All right, Dave, you were saying?
Nobody is talking about the real issues facing us right now, either side. It's just what little can I say to get elected. And there are big issues. You've got the border. You've got the wars in Gaza, Russia, Ukraine. You've got all these things going on. The deficit.
Inflation.
Nobody's talking about these things.
So just summarizing today's episode, you can sense the frustration. I guess it's going to be up to the new generations, the next generations, to try to figure this out. Good luck. But the Yacht Club show will continue to present the truth.
Yep.
As we see it.
Yep. So I guess we need to say sayonara. Until next time, any closing thoughts? Any words of wisdom?
Yeah, I do. When you're dissatisfied and would like to go back to your youth, think of algebra. All right.
Think of algebra. All right. Well,
All right.
that's
Thank
good.
you for
That's a
letting
good
me
one.
vent,
I was gonna say,
jump
I
in.
would have said calculus, but
never
that
got
one
that
really
far.
kicked my butt.
I was going to say, I mean, we do talk about trying to be as truthful as possible, and I think I would just put a caveat on: we try to be as honest as we possibly can. Maybe being humble enough to know we might not know what the truth is, but just being open
Good point.
to hear different points of view. And I know everybody always tells me, those who are fans on the show that I listen to, always tell me, yeah, you listen to different points of view, but you always come back to the same conclusion. So
I just kind of broke ranks here, didn't I?
You did. You and Carl.
Me and Che Guevara. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm open to any suggestions anyone has, but you better bring it if you want to convince me, because I may be old, but that's 78 years of living.
That's right, man.
There's an
And
advantage.
A lot of wisdom there.
There you go.
I don't know how much wisdom there is, but there's a lot of experience that has to be accounted for in any alternative choices.
There you go.
Absolutely. Well said, Jim.
Looks a lot like Che Guevara.
Ooh, a little Bowie there to close
Hey.
out the show.
Maybe you get that in.
Yeah.
Maybe
you
can get a T-shirt.
Catch you next time. Music by War on Drugs, as found on the Internet Archives, archive.org.